Once upon a time, in a quaint village nestled among rolling hills and green meadows, there lived a young girl named Alice. Alice was an intelligent and imaginative child, brimming with potential. She had big dreams and aspirations, much like the other children in her village. However, Alice had one major flaw that set her apart. She was incredibly lazy and had developed a terrible habit of procrastination. No matter how important or urgent her tasks were, she would always find a reason to delay them, pushing her responsibilities to the very last moment. This habit had gradually taken over her life, affecting her studies, friendships, and all other important areas, as Alice grew older. Her habit of procrastination began to show its effects. While her friends and classmates were progressing and excelling in their studies and extracurricular activities, Alice found herself constantly falling behind. She missed deadlines, turned in incomplete assignments, and failed to prepare for exams properly. Her lack of discipline and her constant delaying of tasks led her to miss out on numerous opportunities. Her friends would invite her to join study groups or participate in new activities, but Alice, too focused on her leisurely activities and daydreams, would always decline, saying, "I'll do it tomorrow," or "There's still plenty of time." Her family noticed this behavior and grew increasingly concerned. They would often sit her down and talk to her about the importance of using time wisely. Her mother, a wise woman with years of experience, would say, "Alice, time is like a river. It flows continuously, and once a moment passes, it never comes back. You must learn to seize the day and make the most of every opportunity." Her father would add, "You have so much potential, but you're wasting it by not managing your time properly. If you don't change your ways, you'll regret it later in life." Despite their heartfelt advice, Alice was stubborn and refused to change. She dismissed their concerns, thinking she had all the time in the world. She continued to waste her days on trivial pursuits, reading comic books, playing games, and daydreaming about a future where she magically excelled without putting in any effort. One day, news spread throughout the village that a wise monk was visiting. This monk was renowned across the land for his deep wisdom, his teachings on mindfulness and discipline, and his ability to help people find their true path in life. Many villagers were eager to meet him, hoping to gain insights and guidance to improve their lives. They spoke of the monk with great reverence, sharing stories of how he had transformed the lives of countless people with his wisdom. Alice heard about the monk and, though initially uninterested, became curious when she saw the enthusiasm of her friends and neighbors. Her best friend, Clara, who was diligent and always top of their class, was particularly excited. "I'm going to see the monk," Clara said. "I hear he has a way of helping people find clarity and purpose. Maybe he can give me some advice on how to manage my stress better." Alice, who had been feeling increasingly frustrated with her own lack of progress, thought to herself, "If the monk is really as wise as everyone says, maybe he can give me a quick solution to surpass my friends and become the best at everything." So, Alice decided to visit the monk. She put on her best dress, hoping to make a good impression, and walked to the place where the monk was staying. As she approached, she saw a long line of people waiting to speak with him, each one hoping for a few moments of his time. She waited patiently, listening to the conversations around her. Many people spoke of their struggles and aspirations, and Alice realized she was not alone in her feelings of inadequacy and frustration. When her turn finally came, she approached the monk with a mix of nervousness and excitement. She bowed deeply, showing respect, and said, "Oh wise one, please help me. I feel like I am failing in my life. No matter what I do, I am always behind my friends and classmates in every field. I want to surpass them all and become the best. Please, tell me how I can achieve this." The monk looked at Alice with a gentle smile. His eyes filled with kindness and understanding. He could see the confusion and desperation in her eyes. He replied softly, "My dear child, the reason you feel lost and behind is not because you lack talent or intelligence, but because you do not value your time. You have developed a habit of procrastination, which is causing you to waste the precious moments that you can never get back. Time is the most valuable resource we have, more precious than gold or jewels, yet you treat it as if it were endless. Let me share a story with you that might help you understand the true value of time. Alice, intrigued by the monk's calm and wise demeanor, nodded eagerly. She was ready to listen, hoping that the story would provide her with the answers she sought. The monk began his tale. Once, in a faraway kingdom, there was a queen who was known throughout her land for her generosity and kindness. She loved her people dearly and always made sure to care for them, especially in times of need. One day, while traveling through her kingdom, she encountered an old friend from her school days. This friend had studied with her when they were young but had not made much of her life. She was poor, without a steady job, and lived in a small, run-down house at the edge of the village. People in the village often spoke poorly of her because she never seemed to accomplish anything, always complaining about her fate and blaming others for her problems. When the queen saw her friend in such a difficult situation, she felt a deep sadness in her heart. She approached her and asked gently, "My friend, what has happened to you? Why are you in such a state?" The woman, with tears in her eyes, replied, "O Queen, life has not been kind to me. Whenever I try to improve my situation, something goes wrong. People say I am lazy and never do anything on time, but I don't know how to change. I feel trapped in a cycle of failure." The queen, moved by her friend's plight, decided to offer her a chance to turn her life around. She said, "Let us make a deal. Before sunset today, come to my treasury and take as much gold and as many jewels as you can carry. All of it will be yours." The woman was overwhelmed with joy and gratitude. She thanked the queen profusely, her heart brimming with hope. She rushed home to tell her family about the queen's generous offer. Her family, hearing the news, was thrilled. They urged her to go immediately to the treasury and seize the opportunity. "This is a blessing," they said. "You must go right away and make the most of it." However, the woman, feeling relaxed and complacent, replied, "I'm very hungry right now. Let me eat something first, and then I will go." Despite the urgency of the situation, she took her time preparing a meal and eating it slowly, savoring each bite as if she had all the time in the world. After finishing her meal, she felt a wave of drowsiness wash over her. "I'll just rest for a little while," she thought to herself. "Then I'll head to the treasury." She lay down on her bed, expecting to sleep for only a few minutes, but ended up falling into a deep sleep that lasted for 2 full hours. When she finally woke up, she realized with a start that it was already late in the afternoon. Panic gripped her as she jumped up, quickly grabbing a few bags, and rushed out of the house. The sun was high in the sky, its rays blazing down upon her, making her feel hot and uncomfortable. As she hurried along the road to the palace, she thought to herself, "It's too hot to keep going at this pace. I'll rest under this tree for a bit and then continue." She sat down under a large oak tree, where a cool breeze was blowing, making her feel relaxed and at ease. The soothing wind and the shade of the tree soon lulled her back to sleep. This time, she slept even longer. Another 4 hours passed before she woke up again. When she finally opened her eyes, she saw that the sun was already sinking low in the sky. Realizing that time was running out, she jumped up and started running toward the palace, her heart pounding with fear and regret. Despite her frantic efforts, she arrived at the palace just as the sun was setting. The gates were already closed, and the guards had locked them for the night. She stood outside, tears streaming down her face, as she realized she had lost her chance to change her life. She had let procrastination and a lack of urgency cost her everything that day. The monk paused, allowing the weight of the story to settle over Alice. He then continued, "The woman lost a rare opportunity not because of any external forces or bad luck, but because she failed to recognize the importance of time. She allowed her habit of delaying things and her complacency to control her actions, and as a result, she missed out on something that could have changed her life forever." As Alice listened, she felt a deep sense of realization wash over her. The story was like a mirror, reflecting her own behavior and habits. She saw herself in the woman who had squandered her chances, and a wave of shame and regret surged through her. For the first time, she understood that her failure to prioritize and act promptly was the root of her problems, not her lack of ability or talent. She thanked the monk sincerely for sharing the story and for his wisdom, promising herself that she would change her ways from that moment on. The monk, seeing the sincerity in her eyes, nodded approvingly and said, "Remember, Alice, that time is the most valuable thing we have. It is more precious than any treasure because it is finite, and once it is gone, it can never be reclaimed. Each moment wasted is an opportunity lost. If you wish to change your life, you must begin by valuing your time. Set your priorities, take action, and avoid the trap of procrastination. Use every moment wisely, for that is the key to achieving your dreams and finding true happiness." Alice left the monk's presence that day with a newfound sense of purpose and determination. She realized that if she wanted to change her life, she needed to change her attitude toward time. No longer would she waste her days on trivial matters or put off important tasks. She began to plan her days more carefully, setting specific goals for herself and working diligently to achieve them. She made a conscious effort to resist the urge to procrastinate, reminding herself of the story the monk had told her whenever she felt tempted to delay her work. Over time, Alice's efforts began to pay off. She became more organized and efficient, and her grades improved significantly. She started participating more in class and joined a few extracurricular activities, discovering new interests and talents along the way. Her friends and teachers noticed the change in her and praised her for her hard work and dedication. Alice felt a growing sense of pride and fulfillment as she saw the fruits of her labor, and her self-confidence soared. But more than her academic and social achievements, Alice found a deeper sense of happiness and contentment in her life. She learned to value each day, each moment, and to make the most of the time she had. She discovered that by being present and mindful in her actions, she could experience a richer, more meaningful life. She also learned to enjoy the small, simple moments with her family and friends, understanding that these were just as important as her bigger goals. As she continued on her journey of personal growth, Alice began to share her experiences and lessons with others. She encouraged her friends who struggled with similar issues to reflect on their own habits and consider the importance of time. She spoke about the monk's story and how it had changed her perspective, inspiring others to make positive changes in their lives as well. Years passed, and Alice grew into a wise and accomplished young woman. She achieved many of her dreams and goals, and she did so not by rushing or taking shortcuts, but by consistently valuing her time and making thoughtful, deliberate choices. She became known in her community as someone who was not only successful but also kind, generous, and always willing to help others find their way. One day, as Alice reflected on her journey, she realized how far she had come from the lazy, procrastinating girl she once was. She smiled to herself, remembering the wise monk who had set her on this path. She knew that the most valuable lesson she had learned was not just about managing time, but about understanding the value of life itself. She had learned that life is a series of moments, each one an opportunity to learn, grow, and make a difference. And she was grateful for every single one of those moments. Alice continued to live her life with purpose and passion, always mindful of the precious gift of time. She understood that while she could not control everything that happened to her, she could control how she chose to spend her time and what she chose to focus on. And with that understanding, she found a deep, abiding sense of fulfillment and joy, knowing that she was making the most of the life she had been given.